¿Qué tal, amigos de GuitarraMX? Estamos en el Fender Booth, ahora en el NAMM 2019, que ya bien lo saben. Estamos con Steve Pepper, nos va a presentar la nueva serie American Performer Series. Perdón, yo sigo queriendo decir American Professional, pero es del año pasado. Pero bien, Steve, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And please take it away.
All right, so for 2019, we're really excited to show our new American Performer Series.
Nice.
So this takes the place of the old American Special Series that we ran for many years.
All right.
And it was time for a refresh. We've had a lot of things that we've been working on for several years, and finally had it all ready to go to bring out a new series of guitars.
Nice.
So this is basically this is the series that gets you into USA guitars. We've completely redesigned all the pickups. So these are the new Yosemite single coils.
Yosemite.
Yosemite, like our famous national park here.
Yeah.
And then what we have here for humbuckings is our new double tap humbucking pickup.
Okay.
This is, it's like, you know, magic, essentially. So we call it the double tap. When it's in regular humbucking mode, it's actually tapped so that the volume is brought down to meet the single coils. But it's actually full-bodied and sounds like one of the best humbuckings you'll ever get to play.
Really?
But pull up the switch.
You got coil split.
You've got coil split, sort of. So again, double tap. So what's really cool is, again, like I said, when it's in humbucking mode, it's all tapped. You flip it up, kills a coil, and untaps the other side. So now you get the full single coil instead of just half. And so it matches
Is that right?
almost dead on with the other single coils. So none of that really crazy volume drop that everybody expects.
Yes.
It doesn't sound thin like everybody expects when you split it out. So this is one of the coolest things that we've ever done. And to have it on a series like this, which has got a great price point for USA, is spectacular. We're actually using this pickup in a slightly modified version for our Rarity series.
Okay.
And those are, you know, the highest of the high that we can do in manufacturing. So we love this pickup so much. It's incredible, and it goes a lot of places.
Excellent. Well, talking about then about the double tap, and what type of, are you still using Alnico 5s, or are you using what type of magnets?
So again, something very different. These are all Alnico 4 magnets.
Really?
So I know, it's weird, but our guys found ways with the magnets and the wire. It's like, how do I say, it's like an Alnico 2 that you want to hear all the time, because it's got like this warmth, but still like all the way up, it's almost higher performance. You get a little more output, but it doesn't, you don't lose any tone, you know, any like sort of classic Fender sound. But you just take your master volume, roll it back a hair, and then you've got those great vintage sounds that you're used to on like vintage reissued guitars and vintage guitars. So you start out high. Oh man,
Really?
Incredible.
Nice.
Incredible.
So you got the twang, you got the warmth, and you got the vintage sound in one single setup.
one single setup. These pickups will do it all, from mild to wild, and the guitar really lends itself to that. So we got jumbo frets, 9.5-inch radius, a modern C, so a nice quick playing neck. I mean, it's spectacular. But I'll tell you, my favorite thing about this entire series of guitars, and I'm such a guitar geek, it's gonna be my thing. It's actually our new tuning machines.
Okay.
So these are our classic gear tuning machines, okay? I'm a huge fan of vintage style tuners because I find that they're easier to string, easier to work on, and when I'm teaching younger players how to do things, this makes it so easy. You measure it out, you cut it, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pop the strings in, wind them, and that's it. That's how guitars have been strung for a long time. And so we wanted to make it as easy as possible, and so the split post style gives you that. But what we've done is it's now an 18-to-1 gear ratio. So where vintage ones are like 10, maybe 12 to 1.
That means that it's gonna detension easier, right?
No, actually, so it's gonna be more turns of the key for more turns of the post. So you're able to dial it in just very exacting. So without a lot of the slop of older machines that are, you know, kind of beat up and worn, these are super tight. And
I mean, it's just going to be super tight, really millimetric. I mean, every single, I mean, just a little turn is going to make a big difference.
huge.
Nice.
So They're super responsive. Another thing that we did that makes these really great is you see here, it's not like a regular vintage push-in bushing. So this is a screw-on bushing like we've used on a lot of our modern machines, except in the back, no screws. So we use that screw-on bushing to hold the keys in place using our 2-pin mount that we've been using for, gosh, almost 40 years. So it's so simple yet so amazingly great. And it makes a real geek like me very happy. But when you get to take something like that and put it on a guitar like this, that again, it's something that's affordable that you can go and grab. You don't need to swap out pickups. You don't need to go to another guy and get anything done. You pull this out of the bag, it's ready to go. You tune up, plug into your amp, and run.
That's amazing. And what are the finishes, for example, on this particular model?
So what we've got going, you can see up on our wall here, we've got some great new colors. We've got some traditional sunburst. We've got aged white or vintage white. We've got a satin surf green. And check this out. That is satin Lake Placid blue. So when you get up close and see the light, it still all has that metallic luster and sheen that you expect. Except now it's nice and smooth against your arm.
I actually love that one. I'm a big fan of Lake Placid blue. I actually own an American Special Telecaster Lake Placid blue. So I mean that is really nice. Thanks for that.
Oh, our pleasure. It's been great. The Tele we've gotten a satin Sonic blue, which is uber sharp. We got satin surf green there, and then so we got some really fun new colors. Over here you'll see Penny, which is it's like a metallic copper, but there it's a little bit darker. If you look at the Jazzmaster over here, it's totally different depending on the light, and it's just really incredible. And then we wanted to do a new sunburst, and so what we've done is we've added Honeyburst to the line. It's a nice subdued, very sort of soft sunburst that isn't the harsh 3-tone like a lot of people are used to on vintage guitars and things, and it's got some nice warm color to it. Just that honey is, it's warm. It's got a very friendly kind of feel to it that says, hey, pick me up, I'm fun. And so the colors that we got to use for this have been great, and if you can see it on the wall, they just pop. And
we'll go through them, and right now, thanks so much for this,
my pleasure.
Steve. And
why don't you pick up a bass guitar?
You want to go to talk about the bass? Well, this is on live, man. So let's just go pick up a bass guitar, man.
All right. So now we've got American Performer basses. Man, these are going to be great instruments for everybody. So we're going to start off. We have our traditional jazz basses with the 2 single coils, volume, tone control.
All right.
We've actually done the basses with the medium jumbo fret instead of the larger fret for the guitars. And this, because just in talking to players and everybody, they want still a nice soft feel, a close feel.
Smoother.
Right. Yeah. Whereas, on a jumbo fret, if you pull really hard, it kind of pulls the tuning out. And bass players want to be able to do anything from soft to really digging in. And so we tried to make the basses a little bit more neutral as far as the fretwork and that kind of thing. It's still a 9.5-inch radius, so nice and comfortable, easy to get around on. Please.
I gotta think for blue. All right. Yeah.
You gotta love it. So again, we're showing the Yosemite pickups. So for the basses as well, they've been completely redesigned. And again, full bore, it's rock in your face. Dial them back, and you get those classic sounds that a lot of us are really familiar with.
These are still Alico 4s as well?
These are. So again, there's magic in the magnets, and our engineers, our guys are so creative. And when we pose a challenge, they find an answer, and we're so lucky to have an amazing crew that helps us get these things rolling. Guys like Tim Shaw and the custom shop and all the knowledge and experience that lives within Fender goes into everything that we make. So someone gets a weird idea, we try it out, oh my goodness, hey, that works really well, let's do it, okay, let's do it. So, and that's a lot of the fun that we get to have. So your classic P-bass with a jazz in the bridge, it's that kind of do-all thing that a lot of players want.
Nice.
This gives you, you know, that growly jazz bridge sound and that huge rock and roll P bass sound that, man, just goes on forever.
Great.
And so we couldn't stop there. Right? We just couldn't stop there.
Okay.
With the popularity of our recent Offset series, with the Mustangs Duosonics and Mustang basses, along with the JMJ Mustang bass that we did last year.
Okay, yes.
People have been giving the Mustang the credit that we always thought it should get. And it's coming back into view again. And so, what would a series like this be without a Mustang bass to go along with it? And to keep with the tradition that we've established now with the Offset series, and how much people have really enjoyed having the PJ style setup on a Mustang bass, we've just gone a slight step further and done a traditional Mustang bass pickup, except redesigned. So it's got that near P bass girth and power, but while still maintaining something that's going to be unique to the Mustang bass. So it still sits in that odd place in the mix that just cuts through. And then, of course, you dial in the bridge pickup with it, and it adds just that extra bit of bounce and the growl that, you know, just you don't get from the split pickup.
Sure.
So when you got them both up, it's insane.
Nice.
But, you know, dial it back, roll the tone back, and you can do all that great, you know, stubby thumb work that you hear in Motown and all that. Except that, you know, the 30-inch scale just lets it sit someplace. So it's more audible in some mixes, and it's got such a unique place in the bass world, and very happy that people are really getting back into it again. So
Awesome, we love it. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, all the satin and everything. God, man, the series is just awesome. Thank you so much for that, Steve.
thank you very much.
All right. Well, seguimos aquí en Guitarra MX. Vamos a seguir en el booth. No se vayan.
Gracias.
Amigos, seguimos aquí con Steve Pepper. Ahora estamos con la nueva Signature Jimmy Page Telecaster. Steve, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. 2019 is an incredible year. All the great new products that we're showing is amazing. But something to be able to offer these guitars for the first time, when these have been sought after, clones have been done, everything has been done to do these guitars. And to finally have a great partnership with a man like Jimmy Page, it's one of the most incredible things that we could ever experience. And one of the reasons why it's so special is because, you know, Jimmy Page used a Telecaster. The Yardbirds, the new Yardbirds, the first Led Zeppelin record is all Telecaster for Jimmy. And another thing, Stairway to Heaven was written, it's a Fender Electric 12, not another brand, but a Fender Electric 12. So Jimmy and Fender have a history. It's just never culminated to something like this in the past. And so it's incredible. What we've done for each of the different versions, including the custom shop, and theirs are quite a bit more exacting, of course. But
It was Paul Waller, right?
yeah, Paul Waller did. Oh man, he's so good.
Yes.
But what we've done, you know, for all of these models, is we've tried to do our best to make a true copy or version of his guitar. The neck scoop here is the same, and it's very unusual for the year of guitar. The neck shape is very much right on, which is unique as well, because it's like a D shape, but more of a rounded C in the back, but with like D-style shoulders here. And the way it fits in a hand is just unique, which is, you know, one of those things about Fender guitars of those eras. There is nothing right. There was so much variation depending on the day and all that stuff that, you know, no two guitars off those lines are identical.
Completely agree.
It's just the way it is. And so Jimmy's guitar is no different. Specifically to this one, just because it is so much fun and is the later version. So, you know, we've done everything we could, done research and worked with Jimmy to do the artwork as properly as possible. We've done the pickups. We've matched everything as best as possible so that these pickups are the one in the original guitar. One of the coolest features for me is the fact that his guitar left the factory and he set it up as a top-loaded bridge. Except the guitar was able to be top-loaded or body-strung as most people are familiar with on most teles. Well, between 58 and 60, they started trying the top load stuff. And then at some point, they shipped with both, like Jimmy's. So they were top load, but they were drilled and ready to go for body through, because apparently at the time, people just didn't really go for the top mount. So, but what the top mount does is it changes the string length, which is going to give the strings, you know, a different feel to it, a different bounce, a different bloom of the note. So what you get, you know, instead of the extra almost 2 inches of body length, is it's shorter. It's got like I said, just a bounce and a bloom that doesn't feel like a tele. Like there's nothing stiff about doing this, and you can just get around on it. And I've always been a big top load tele fan, and to, you know, and I didn't know much about the guitar to start with until we, you know, got into the project. And when we found out that, oh yeah, he did it top load, I'm like, yes, oh yes, because I love it, and I show it to people a lot. And just to know that I got something in common with Jimmy Page on the way we do teles, man, it's kind of cool. And you know, the fun thing about these is you don't have to be a Zeppelin fan. You don't have to be a Jimmy Page fan. You don't even need to know who Jimmy Page was. But what you have
I think everybody
to know,
needs to know who Jimmy Page was, man.
For sure, for sure. But the thing that people need to know, regardless of that stuff, is that this guitar, from its original version to what it eventually became, this is the sound of modern rock and roll. Like, whether you're a fan or not, you cannot discount the fact that they changed music for everybody.
That's right.
Rock and heavier music wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for guys like Jimmy. And to know that a Telecaster was by his side on the earliest days, and that led to the inspiration to keep going, how cool is that?
It's got to be a proud day for Fender,
So
shit.
it's very proud. And, you know, again, to be able to do this legit with Jimmy, you know, I didn't sign that, you know. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Jimmy Page, man.
And I can see that actually this version or this series is actually built in Mexico?
Correct. This one, the Jimmy Page Telecaster, is made in Ensenada.
Nice. Very cool.
You know, and don't let anyone ever tell you they aren't right, because you go check out the new Player series, our Classic series, our Deluxe series, the JMJ Mustang bass, the other signature instruments that we do out of Ensenada. You know, all of our folks and all of our factories are proud of what they do. And every day they're excited when a new project comes along. How can they do it great? What do we need to do to get it right? And I mean, look, this was not easy. This is not easy to do. You know, you scour photographs and video and everything trying to figure it out. And man, it wasn't until Jimmy, you know, went to the custom shop and started working with some of those guys doing it. And we're like, oh my gosh, he remembers like every little bit. And so to be able to translate it into something like this, which is ultimately affordable, you know, if you're the fan.
How much is this going to retail for?
I want to say like around $12.99.
Okay.
So not something out of reach, you know, and that's one of the biggest reasons. Like, you know, if you see some of the videos that Jimmy's done for us, you know, he talks about everybody having a chance. And that's something that Fender, we believe in almost more than anything else, is everybody can get one. And anybody can do whatever they want with a Fender guitar. We make it every price point, every weird setup that you want, we offer it. And our guitars are also, you know, they're modular. People have used these to create their own versions of these instruments forever. And the more you do to personalize a guitar, the more it becomes with you. And, you know, Jimmy is no different than every other guitar kid that puts stickers on or does any of that stuff. And it's really spectacular. So that's the Jimmy Page Telecaster. But now we've got a really special one. To get rid of that.
All right.
And so now we have the guitar as close to it would have been in its original form when Jimmy would have received it from another very famous, influential guitar player at the time. I'm told it's Jeff Beck, but I wasn't there. But that's the story. And to have a provenance like that, I mean, you know, Jeff and the Esquire, and I mean, my goodness, there's so much mojo that was rubbed and oozed out of the original guitar. It's like, if there was magic, if magic was real, it was probably in the original Tele. Just,
Cool.
there's something about that. So, and again, it started life out as a blonde 50s Fender. I mean, you know, early days of the rosewood board. And this is, again, one of those things where it's like, is it a 58? Is it a 59? Is it a 60? And, you know, and the original guitar is very difficult to really say when it was really put together and all that. And so we've done everything we can, again, to recreate that across all the models. So again, we do the top load or body through. And this one has the vintage correct style ferrules on the back. The mirrors do come with the guitar. They're in the case though, packaged with it. And that just makes sure that they don't break in shipping. And hey, if you want to do it as it was in this version, you can. But if you want to leave it original like it was when he got it,
Sure.
you can do that too. But otherwise, point for point, the 7¼ inch vintage radius, the vintage fret wire, the strange headstock scoop, the slab board.
Okay. Tell me about the pickups. What
Okay.
pickups are they?
So they are custom done to the Jimmy Page spec on the original.
Okay.
So of course they've aged, they've been through sweat and lights and world travel. So of course they aren't what they were when they first came off the line.
All right.
And what we did is we started with some of our sets of original vintage pickups. And just a lot of A-Bing and going back and forth, we were able to come up with this.
Okay.
So similar to like what an early 60s Tele bridge pickup would have been, but it's got this thing that I couldn't describe if I tried. What makes it so different? But when you plug it in to like a little small dirty amplifier,
Yeah.
you hear it. You hear it.
Very classical, very
Yes.
noisy, right? I mean,
Oh, it's
yeah,
gonna
right.
have
It'll
hum like a good old single coil should. But
Nice.
I tell you this, I love noiseless pickups, and the way that we do them now is incredible, and they sound better than ever. But you know what? These have worked for a long time for a lot of the greats.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing bad you can say about a classic set of single coils. And so it worked really well for him. It's worked really well for every guitar slinger on the planet. And the more technology moves up, you know, the more that we have to remember where we've been and pay tribute to where we've been. The new stuff is amazing, the technology, the engineering, what we get to do every day, pushing the envelope, just as Fender would have done in the day. We didn't stop at the Tele. We didn't stop at a Strat, you know? We didn't stop with a Champ amp or a Deluxe amp.
Sure.
So it's always a challenge. You want to keep pushing and seeing what we can do. And as you've seen over the years past with things like the Meteora and some of the strange guitars that we've done, yet they're still intrinsically Fender. And we're still going to keep continuing to do things that are fun and inspire players. Now, it may not be a Tele, it may not be a Strat, but man, it's going to be fun. And that's what we're about, fun and tools for players. Pick it up, use it, do what you want with it. Heavy metal, rock and roll, jazz, it's your guitar.
It's all there. Man, we'll keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
Amigos, ahí está Jimmy Page. Seguimos en el booth de Fender. Sigan tocando. Amigos, seguimos, nomás dimos unos pasitos, pero hay que cortar de repente. Entonces, seguimos con Steve Pepper. Estamos viendo ahora Alternate Reality. Steve, take it away, brother.
All right, so last year, as a lot of folks saw, we did Parallel Universe, which it was a blast, you know, having that idea of mixing and matching and doing something totally new. And we decided after the popularity of that we wanted to do something that was more widespread, something that at a lower price point that would still inspire some creativity
That is awesome.
and a whole bunch of fun. And so that's what we've done. The first thing that we did and we brought directly from a Parallel Universe is the Meteora. So
Meteora. Can we take this out?
We absolutely can. So we've got this guitar here.
Very nice.
So Parallel Universe last year, we had a version of this, the first one, which had more of a Telecaster style setup.
Yeah.
But this year we've decided we'd bring it down into our Ensenada production. They are body through. It's in Adjustomatic bridge for us. And then these are our Player Series humbuckings, which, you know, as we've said before, the Player Series pickups punch way above their weight and
God, yeah.
you know, they sound just as good as any boutique pickup out there, and offer a really great fresh flavor. So we've equipped it with this, a nice easy three-way switching, volume, and tone. But a really cool feature about this, you know, a lot of guys like to do swells with the volume, but someone wants to use this pickup sometimes and they want to use this pickup sometimes. But with two volumes, that doesn't work. So what you can do is we've got this little push button here, and what that does is actually swaps the position of the volume. So you can do swells on this pickup, swap it, and then this is still going to control that. So whatever pickup you're on, you can do those really sweet peaky swells.
That is really cool.
So yeah,
All right.
9.5-inch radius, Pal-Ferro fingerboard with medium jumbo frets, so it fits, you know, that formula that we use a lot with Fender. It's great. It hangs really nicely. It looks super cool.
I love
really,
the fretboards.
yeah, that's Pal-Ferro.
Pal-Ferro.
And one of the great things that we love about Pal-Ferro is, you know, what a lot of folks don't realize, it's actually an upgrade. It's more expensive than Indian Rosewood. And one thing that I really enjoy about it is the color variation, from chocolates to reds to purples. And for me, I'm a wood guy, so all the variation we can get, I'm all about it. And it's something different. So we really love the Pal-Ferro. And so that is the Meteora.
Very cool.
Surf green, Lake Placid blue, and candy apple red.
Surf green, Lake Placid blue, and candy apple.
Yes,
Nice. My favorites.
Oh.
All right.
Next coming down, we've got one of my most favorite things, okay? This is the 66.
Okay.
As you can see here,
As the root? No.
not exactly,
Okay.
but as the beginning, to put it easily. So, as you'll notice, this is essentially a downsized jazz bass. Okay, we've got all the great offset stuff that we're used to on a jazz bass. And so the jazz bass came out in 1960,
Okay.
and we've done 6 strings in a guitar format.
Very nice.
We came up with the name, it's like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah.
It's
Of course
great.
it does.
So this one we give kind of that 70s vibe with the natural ash body, the black 3-ply guard, the maple here. It is a little bit thicker back here. You can see it's got some chunk to it. And then medium jumbo and 9.5.
Medium jumbo.
Correct.
Thank you for that.
Correct. And then vintage style keys, which again, my favorite, makes it real easy to tune it up and make it right. So we've got some Player Series Telecaster neck pickups and a Player Series humbucking. So it's got a really cool vibe to it. You add the Strat Trem and the 5-way switching, and it's just a lot of fun sounds. And you know, very much like the Meteora, the way that it hangs and the way that it fits, it balances beautifully. You can sit down and it just balances nicely. It's all the stuff you love about a jazz bass in a guitar format. I'm a big jazz bass lover, and so this is a great one.
That is awesome. It's really, really
We've got
beautiful.
a lot of bass guys buying some guitars this year.
Oh, well, we got our bass player right here with us. So.
All right.
And what are the finishes on this
So
baby?
finishes on this is natural, Olympic white, and Sonic Daphne blue. Excuse me.
Okay.
And so next up is something that, God, artists, players, people all over have begged and begged for. And it was finally a good time for us to do it, a right time for us to do it. Especially with Jimmy Page. Now we've got an electric 12. So can someone find me a Stairway to Heaven? You know, this is your route. Not exact reproduction, but very much in the same vein, with a few great added features and some that have taken away because they weren't all that great. So first and foremost, the headstock. This is one of the most iconic things ever, and just love having it on any guitar, but especially the electric 12.
Yeah.
It just isn't the same without it. So we've redesigned the electric 12 pickup, so it's still that split style that folks are used to, but very much like our new Performer Mustang pickups and that sort of thing. It's got a more modern voice, a bigger voice. So if you really want to cut through the mix and, you know, have your amp behave, you know, it's right here for you. Roll it back, and again, you get some more jangle and the vintage thing. These originally had a 4-way rotary switch with this giant switch tip.
Oh, yeah.
They always broke, and you know, that's why you see them in ads with, you know, broken switches or something replaced on it. So we just went to a simple 3-way toggle, and after talking to folks, the extra series position on this guitar, folks just didn't use a lot. So, hey, no big deal. We'll take it out.
Great.
The bridge,
very smart.
yeah. The bridge is a take on the old one, but is more modern, a lot more stable, easier to intonate, easier to get around on. So it's one of those thoughtful upgrades, you know, because not all the stuff back in the day was really perfect. So if you just keep going back and trying to make it as good as we can.
Everything that was ever complicated about an instrument, you just make it simple because all you want to do when you pick something up is just play it.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Great.
So, and that's why you've seen us redesign things like the Jazzmaster, Jaguar tail pieces, and some of the Mustang stuff, you know, because we all love the look, but now it needs to work right because, you know, there's no reason not to. We've got the teams to do it. So
that's very cool.
That's what we're going to do. So that is the Electric 12. Really super cool.
Nice.
Coming up next is one of the most unique guitars we've ever been able to offer. This is the Powercaster. This is very different for us. So you'll see, kind of like the Meteora, it has an offset inspired body.
Okay.
That Jazzmaster Jaguar thing.
Yeah, take it out, please.
Excuse me. So you see it's got a little bit tighter, you know, sort of cue right there for the cutaway.
All right.
But it's still, you know, it is still Fender because the lines, everything still speaks the Fender language. This is really cool because it's got a roasted maple neck, which is something you generally see only on higher end, kind of boutique level guitars. Again, we've got the Pow Pharaoh fingerboard. We've got a very traditional, solid bridge and tail piece here with our Adjust-O-Matic. So this is a medium-high output humbucking with a really smooth, warm, woolly soap bar here. That it's got a lot of that vintage flavor that it matches with this humbucking so well. In the middle is just this raucous, you know, I'm going to push the front end of my amp and just have a blast for the next hour and a half and get lost. Exactly. Nice. This thing just eats it up left and right.
Awesome.
Nice simple controls, 3-way toggle, boom. Everything you need, nothing you don't. But the most unique feature about this guitar is this is a 24 3/4 inch scale length.
Come again?
So 24 3/4 inches.
All right.
Something used by other manufacturers over the years. Honestly, just because it was something different.
Okay.
Something that we really had never done in production. And there's been some other guitars, you know, from like Squire and Custom Shop over the years that have played around with it. And we're like, you know, it's awesome. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And so you still have a lot of the Fender sound, the Fender look, but you've got a little bit different tonality to it. The strings bounce a little bit differently across the board.
God, the neck is...
That roasted maple is really something special.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it makes it so much more solid and stable. It gets all the moisture out, and man, they rarely ever need much adjustment, if any. But when they do, it's a Fender, so it's super, super easy. Okay. So, last but not least.
Oh God, I'm gonna get that for my kid.
Okay, you're gonna get one for you too after you actually get to play it. Okay.
All right.
So, let's go back 100 or so years, turn of the 20th century.
Okay.
As the guitar gained in popularity, you know, starting in sort of the late 1800s, you found banjo players starting to get tenor guitars, 4-string tenor guitars, from the likes of Martin, Gibson, Gretsch. I mean, almost every maker in those days, early 20th century, was offering tenor guitars, and a lot of times up through the 50s and early 60s. So while this doesn't exactly fit the longer tenor scale length, it's every bit something fun, tenor-like, that you can do whatever you really want. So we've got this setup tuned D, G, B, and E.
D, G, B, and E.
So top 4 strings of every 6-string electric guitar, right? Boom, there's your D. So you can pick this thing up off the wall and instantly play it. You don't have to relearn anything. You don't have to do anything new. Just pretend the top 2 strings are gone and play guitar.
Wow.
But what's great about this and the size and everything, it allows you to be able to change tunings really easily. So you can tune it like, say, a mandocello, or do a mandolin style. You know, change it up, go backwards like a violin. And it gives you lots of great possibilities. And so we decided to go with, you know, a semi-traditional thing. The uncovered telly pickup looks really cool.
It looks really nice.
So you get great three-way switching, master volume, master tone.
Okay.
So it's still every bit of Telecaster. You know, string through the body, going through. So it's not, you know, not done cheaply. You know, this is still done in our Ensenada factory. This is still alder, just like all of our, you know, great guitars. This is still maple. This is still the same fret wire that we use.
Can I hold that for a minute?
Please.
Jesus.
Here, I'll hang on to that.
Thanks a lot.
It's wild, isn't it?
God, it's so. It's awesome.
We've been messing around with this idea for some time, and what happens is artists come through the office, and they see all of our weirdness hanging on the walls and dead projects, things that we're working on, and everybody just gravitated towards a couple of prototypes that we had of these.
Is that right?
And say, when are you doing that? When are you doing that? When can I get one? When can I get one?
And when can we get one?
So these will be out this year, and forgive me, I'm not sure the order of release, but these are all limited to this year. We will not make them into 2020, okay? So this is a limited edition collectible series just for this year. Not limited to any number. We will make as many as people want.
Nice.
But then, end of the year, she's gone, which makes these more collectible. And, oh man.
What are the finishes on this one in particular?
So this one, you've got the Lake Placid blue there. I want to say, of course that doesn't say. Lake Placid blue, I believe there's a white one and a red one.
Nice, okay.
So a lot of classic Fender custom colors, which helps make it, okay, it's Lake Placid blue.
Yeah.
All right, I'm cool with that. Let's try it out. So, you know, you got to have a little bit of familiarity in when you're ordering a pizza you've never had before.
Sure.
So, this is just, it's so great. And again,
congratulations on this. It's amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing.
And again, these are all made in Ensenada. These are very easily attainable price points. Nothing over $1,000, you know, US. You can get one in every color, you know? It's really great. And we hope everybody has a lot of fun and gets inspired.
We will. I am definitely going to look into that. Steven, thank you so much, man. Seguimos en el booth. Sigan tocando.